Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching this live broadcast from. Welcome to this other weekly broadcast that we've got from Hindu Academy. My name is Nishit Kotak. I'm here with the team from Hindu Academy. And if you're watching us for the very first time, let me just explain to you how this broadcast is scheduled. So we run from 2 o'clock UK time every Saturday. It's for about 55 minutes. And the way we do it is we have a focus topic, which we start off with, and then we go on to answer your questions live on air. And you can put your questions into the comments area on YouTube or Hindu Academy at Hindu Academy. So youtube.com/Hindu Academy or facebook.com/Hindu Academy. So today's focus topic is going to be about the hot potato, that's the environment. And we have a video on the Hindu take on ecological issues, a topic I had explored with Jaybai a while back. So let me share that video, and then we will come back and do a little bit of a Q&A session, and we'll carry on with the question and answers from you, the viewers. Before I go on further, I would like to wish all the viewers, on behalf of the Hindu Academy team, Shubh Deepavali and Nutan Varshna Abhinandan. So best wishes for the new year and happy Diwali as well. So let's get on with the video and we will come back shortly. We have a particular take about sustainability and eco-friendliness. So would you kindly share some light on what your thoughts on this?
First of all, it is nice to see the young of desire, so all the time desire, more desire. We've been stoking up the flames of desire. So everybody gets wound up, they're living a frenzied lifestyle, they eat more, they drink more, they consume more, they throw away more, and produce more and more greenhouse effect without any concern, because they're just interested in eating, drinking, merrymaking, and kind of living this kind of frenzied lifestyle. It's been promoted. Otherwise, industrial revolution doesn't take place, industry cannot progress, you can't do further research and development. So they say, okay, push stuff down their throat. So if you like the desires have been stocked up, they kind of fire up your desires, buy this new car, new house, this thing. So as these desires have been stocked up and humanity is living in a very frenzied lifestyle, we are going to pay a heavy price. The heavy price is the environment suffers. This is the real reason. So if you want to really address the issue, you must look at the teaching of our tradition, which says, look, my friend, chasing after these worldly desires is a very limited objective. It doesn't really resolve your human condition. You just become more and more frenzied. So rather than do that, calm down. Reduce your requirement reduce the way you lead your life. Don't go wild chasing after material desires, because that is the what is the real reason that is talking of this environmental disaster. So I am suggesting we must ask humanity at the grassroots level, every individual, to say, look, rather than go become frenzied and eat more and drink more and go on more holidays, calm down, kind of reduce, live a more simple life but high principle lifestyle. Thereby automatically this issue will dissolve or disappear or be under control. I am quite sure, if you look at the statistics, that the world can easily sustain 7 billion human beings, even 10 billion human beings, without any problem, without any ecological disaster, provided we live in a sensible manner. That is the only thing our religion teaches. Don't chase after all these material objectives, because they're going to make you a frenzied human being, like an animal. And you must calm down. And so the resolution lies with this kind of deeper vision that comes in all religions, especially Hinduism, saying lead a more controlled life, more harnessed life, rather than get carried away with all this advertisement forcing you to buy things which you don't need even. So this is the only resolution, long-term resolution. Otherwise, you see the two superpowers, say China or USA. Do you think they're going to play ball with each other or cooperate with each other to reduce environmental issues? I doubt it. Because we are living like animals, competing. Not cooperating, but competing with each other. So these two major nations are going to talk a big thing. We're going to reduce this, we reduce by 2%. But they are not going to take action because they are fighting for superior position economically. That is why this idea that comes from Hindu tradition, not to just live for yourself, live for the greater good. That has to be embraced rather than live for myself. My country must be the strong country. Stop it. Try to learn to live for the greater good. This is what
Manish bhai, over to you.
Namaste viewers, thank you for joining today's live Q&A session from Hindu Academy. Today's special topic is this environmental issues. As we know, the COP26 is happening and world leaders are meeting and discussing how to tackle the environmental problem that humanity is facing. And as we've seen in the last 200 years, the industrial revolution has taken place. So the pace and amount of things that are available and the globalization. In the last 40 years, the human 45 years, from 1975, the human population was about 4 billion. Now we are reaching nearly 8 billion. And this means that we are consuming more, and hence we are also, using the energy a lot more, and it's causing the glacier, animals getting. There are some big challenges out here. And what we see from the world leaders is there's a lot of politics talk, but hardly any action. It is commercial and wealth and way this whole trade work around the world. With globalization, things are, traveling all over the world, and the global footprint or carbon footprint of the whole world has gone up massively. So that is the challenge the humanity faces. So what can we do at individual level, Sitaben?
Yeah, it's a very difficult subject because, we're also used to sort of managing, with a very sort of, lifestyle, which, we're driving around in big cars, we're traveling all around the world, we're consuming whatever we like, we throw away things wastefully. that's the culture that we've had for so many years. And to suddenly shift that is quite difficult. It takes a long time for humanity to change. But I think it's a really positive step that, the governments are really sort of starting to take action. And, a lot of people are becoming more and more aware. And in fact, I think there's a new sort of fear among young people as to what's going to happen to their future, because for middle-aged older people it may not make much difference, but for them, like, the planet is important. It's their future. That's where they're going to be living for the next 60, 70, 80 years. So there is a real concern, especially among the young people, and it's wonderful to see this sort of move towards an ethical way of living, moving more towards recycling, trying to avoid using petrol, try and use electric instead, try and avoid doing unnecessary travel. It's wonderful to think that the younger generation growing up now are so aware of the world, because when we were young, like, that was just, we lived in our little bubble and everything was fine. But now young people are very much aware of the world. They're aware of the damage that has been caused over so many years, and they really want to do something about it. So we have to sort of, in a way, follow the lead of the younger generation, the passion and the drive that they have for making a difference. So it's a wonderful thing. It's a form of spiritual living. We're looking at the needs of others, the living kingdom around us, and trying to focus our attention away from ourselves onto them. And that's essentially what spiritual living is all about. Vijay Bhai, do you have any thoughts on the environmental issue?
Yes, so I saw the video. Yeah, so I think the thing is that what Jay mentioned is that I think quite a bit of us, we live way beyond our means. Well, not beyond our means, but more like we tend to have more than we need. I think that's the main issue here, because a lot of the stuff you see, there are a lot of the ecological issues we see. Like, for example, I remember talking to my neighbor, who is kind of an English person, quite old, and and she mentioned that on their menu they only had meat like once every 2 weeks. But now we have this commercial kind of, restaurants which are driven to a lot of consumption, and that all affects the environment, our dietary habits, the kind of cars we drive, bigger cars. So I think the main message you see in the video is very clear, that if we limit our needs and we work within our, limit our needs and just have enough for us, then I think it's okay. But if you have too much for yourself, I want this, I want that, then it does not work. So I think the key issue is what level we should all live at. And to be frank, we can still have a very good quality of life despite having less. And that's the main thing. And also, I think the idea that the issue of equity is also a very big issue. There's some people who have almost nothing. So if we share, like I said, live for others, as you mentioned, Sitaben, then I think we have a more equitable society. But one thing we can't learn the government to do is government is driven by, economic forces, and the idea of generating more wealth means more consumption. So it has to be at a grassroots level. That's the only way. I think basically we deserve the government we elect, right? Well, we deserve what we get. So if we change our own attitude on having less and sharing what we have with those who have even more less than us, then I think the world would be a better place. So I can add to that. Yeah.
That's wonderful to hear, Vijay Bhai. So Sitaben, you mentioned the younger people are getting a lot more aware about these issues and they're trying to do something. And one name we see very prominent these days is Greta Thunberg. What's your thoughts on Greta Thunberg, Sitaben?
I think she's definitely sort of brought that enthusiasm among the younger generation to sort of consider environmental issues and raise the sort of level of importance, because it's not a joke anymore. It's not something that we can sort of delay any longer. The moment is now. And it's wonderful that she's able to do that. I mean, the only thing I think maybe about her attitude is I wish she wasn't so angry. She's quite angry about it. So, I mean, obviously it's very important to raise awareness as much as possible, but rather than be sort of, angry about it, just, do it gently, because the environment is it's wonderful, it's nature. We want to sort of, live up to that sort of standard of just being gentle with everyone and gentle with the environment. And it's a very important issue. Vijay bhai?
The thing is that it's quite important that the youth are all getting involved now. And once this idea of ecological, environment and preservation comes into schools, I think the next generation will make a huge contribution. In that sense, I think the Greta Thunberg is one of those kind of persons going up. But I think one thing we have to remember is that we should be very careful in the sense that we see a lot of stuff coming out of the West, environment. But to be frank, the West is one of the worst polluters. And telling other countries, and I think that's what really kind of irks all the countries in India, all the countries in India, Africa. There goes somebody who's giving us advice, from the West, even it doesn't matter who it is, but they don't look at their own background, the amount of stuff they waste, yes? So I think that the thing is, the key, it's very important to remember this, because you can't tell somebody who's starving, oh, you should now, have no light or something. It doesn't work like that. So it has to start at home. And I know, like in Canada, I know some people who live in Canada, in America, they drive big cars, and to them, that's the normal lifestyle, right? I mean, so the West has to make a much bigger effort, I think, to try and reduce their carbon footprint before, I think, the rest of the world even listen to them. So I think there's a couple of issues to take care of here. So as I said, Sita, I think as I also mentioned, that anger is kind of, in a way, it's good, makes a lot of noise, but to produce solutions, you have to calm and really think it through. So that's what I think on that, Manish.
You raised a very important point that the West is the biggest polluter in the world. If you look at the biggest polluters, US, China, and European countries, they are in top. India is also one of the very big polluters. And what we see is a lot of talking going on. There's lots of goals being set, but not at the ground level, not much being done. And this is the concern. We see rise in electric cars nowadays. But it's again, if you are going to generate electricity using coal power, then you are still, maybe you're not burning petrol, but you're still burning coal somewhere else. So it's a very tricky issue. And we see this target of net zero. And can it be achievable? I mean, and for countries like India, it's a big problem. How do we achieve that?
So I think the thing is that actually in the COP26 meeting, there's something really interesting which the Prime Minister of India mentioned. And really the idea is called One Sun, One World, One Alliance. So the idea was the sun is shining at somewhere in the world at any one point in time. The key issue is if we have the infrastructure to transfer the power, then we can have power all the time. Because I mean, the sun is like such a powerful star. I mean, I think that almost thousands and thousands of kind of nuclear bombs going off every second. So the amount of power produced is immense. Even the power we get on the earth is a huge amount of power. The question is, we need to build the technology to kind of harness that and harness in such a way that even countries which don't have the sun can get it. So there are a lot of initiatives going on. I think considering the Indian resources of India, they've done a remarkable job, because think about it, from about 5 gigawatts of power like 10 years ago, now is at 100 gigawatts of solar power. So thinking about huge amount of increase. I think that now the target is in the next 10 years, they want to go to 500 gigawatts of power. So it is achievable, but I think we need focus and dedication on that kind of goals. Yes. So, but the main thing is that we need countries to help each other out, work as one team. And then I think we'll make a lot of progress, because still we have this idea of competition going on, as Jay mentioned. We have to work collaboratively and accept that, look, everybody has to work together, help each other out. If you work with it, I think we'll make a huge kind of dent in this, all the different kinds of carbon footprint, ecological disasters we are having, temperature, reduction which we need. So we can make much better progress if we all work together. That's the main thing I can think of this. Ashita, Ben?
Yeah, no, I think you're completely right. And what you also said about, Western countries have sort of built themselves up, using all of this coal and petrol and all of that. and they're all in a nice luxurious position. But countries like, India and Africa and China, they also think, hey, we need our chance to build ourselves up using the same sort of tools that you have. So in a way, you can sort of see that there's a bit of an unfairness there. Like, we're nice and comfortable now, so we've got the luxury of saying, let's think about the environment. So yeah, it's a very sort of difficult position, but then it's not a luxury at all anymore. We're kind of at a very sort of critical point, and we've had this sort of lifestyle of excess for so long that now there really needs to be a change. And as Boris Johnson said, we're 1 minute to midnight. It is quite scary when you think about it, and it's very much a time for us to think about the living kingdom, the things around us, the amount of damage that's being done, especially in the oceans. When you watch some of these documentaries about the poor fishes, and they're consuming plastic thinking that it's food, and it's just awful. So the amount of damage that we have done to the living kingdom in order to make our lives comfortable is completely wrong. So we really need to make a change and do the best we can for the living kingdom.
Sure, we need to do something about environment, and I think let the governments do what they can, and politicians do what they can. But at individual levels, I think we should look at getting solar panels on our and maybe use electric cars, and hopefully just have technology whereby we can at ourselves be carbon neutral, and everyone needs to contribute at individual level to overcome this problem. It's everyone's problem, and everyone needs to work on it. And hopefully we'll get there. We have one question from Rahul MG saying, for tropical regions, trees are everything. By influence of other culture, they are cutting down trees. Now, the trees are a big problem. We get very much deforestation because of the human population increase, and people are cutting down forests, and it becomes inhabited land or grass, farmlands. So that's a big problem. What can be done about it, Vijay?
I think the trees are actually, absolutely remarkable. For Hindus, especially, we should realize as Hindus, we tend to forget, I don't know whether it's influence in the West or whatever, that they are divine things. They actually have a living soul. Unlike in the Abrahamic faith, in Hinduism or Indic faith, trees are living things, they have a living soul. So to cut down a tree just for own luxury, that actually goes against the grain of Hinduism. I mean, think about it. I mean, if you look at from what I know, the Amazon forest itself has about 400 billion trees, 400 billion trees. You can imagine the amount of carbon sink that is. So if you take the arboreal forest, which is the forest, covering the northern part of the world from Russia, Siberia to the Canadian forest, that's talking about over nearly 1 trillion trees, which are carbon sinks. People don't realize that these trees are so critical to our environment. And not only that, it's actually sinking carbon in, it's also changing, it also controls the weather. There's no trees, the weather is changing, affects everybody adversely. So I think the idea is to bring these Hindu ideas to the world, that trees have souls, they have Atman, and they are divine things. I mean, that's why we worship trees, right? Tulsi Tulsi plant is a representation of the tree. And we worship the tree through that, the Tulsi plant. So in effect, reverence for plants is something that comes naturally to Hinduism. And I think we should make a big noise about it in the world. We should maybe more proactive and say, look, these are not just things there for us to consume. They're actually living things with a divine soul, and treat them as such. Then I think we'll be much more careful. So attitude has to change in that sense for trees, because they're very, very important. I mean, where I come from in Kutch, it's just so dry that I know that all the trees are really looked after. So it's very important, I think, that we actually give the divine kind of recognition we need to give to plants and think of them as such. Yeah, Sita Ben?
No, you're exactly right. I mean, it's amazing when you think about the beauty of trees and plants and the living kingdom. They're just living so peacefully and gently. We've got a lot to learn from the plant kingdom, plant and trees. They're just wonderful. And you know, you must have heard of all of these sort of experiments that people have done that, you know, if they sort of play lovely music to a plant or a tree, it will grow more beautifully. And if you sort of, you know, shout swear words at the tree, it doesn't grow so beautifully. It's amazing. Like, how does the plant or the tree know what you are communicating to it? It's amazing. It just shows the sort of interconnected spirit that's sort of lying behind every living thing. And that's so beautiful. And that's what our ancient Hindu philosophy has been talking about for so many hundreds of thousands of years. This idea that we are all essentially connected, we are all spirit. Doesn't matter what kind of life form it is, they are all sacred. And that helps us to sort of understand and appreciate the beauty of nature and the living kingdom.
Wonderful explanation there, Sita Ben Vijay. And one thing, you know, another industry that is in highlight is this meat industry, whereby, you know, industrialization of that meat industry means, you know, animals are slaughtered at industrial scale, and, you know, the way the whole thing works is last 100 years is vegetarian, vegan, help this cause, Sitaben.
Sorry, I missed the last part of the question. It was cutting out.
Would going becoming vegetarian or vegan help or reducing the meat intake?
Yeah, I mean, I remember learning about it in science at school, that consuming meat adds a whole extra layer to the sort of ecological chain, and it creates more sort of carbon, and it's not as good for the environment. So, I mean, we have proved, you know, that it is possible to live a healthy life being vegetarian, or even better, being vegan. You just have to take extra care as to just to make sure you get that balanced diet, make sure you get your protein and all the vitamins that you need. But it is possible to live a very healthy life. So it doesn't sort of damage us in that sense. But it's such an ingrained part of human nature to consume meat. For thousands of years, human beings have consumed meat. And, you know, it takes a long time for the human mindset to change. And there does seem to be a sort of shift, you know, especially, I know my dad used to go to so many, you know, girls' schools especially, and what he found is a lot of young girls were becoming vegetarian or becoming vegan, not because, you know, they've been told to by their parents, but because they feel the cruelty of the given to the animal kingdom. It just doesn't seem fair. So that's what I was saying previously. The younger generation have got such an amazing awareness of the living kingdom, and we've got a lot to learn from the younger generation. Vijay bhai?
No, I agree. I mean, I think the key issue is here that I think the meat consumption has gone up a lot. I mean, at one time, say 100 years ago, the local butcher would slaughter some animals, or the family themselves do that. They're very, very precious food source. So they wouldn't just slaughter animals as they feel like. They would only in a special occasion, or they'll be very, very cautious about. But now, because you got an industrial scale with kind of, you know, new scientific techniques, then we have what do you call this hormone kind of bred meat. So we have chickens which are ready for slaughter within weeks, right? Unlike months, right? So all this science has been getting such a way that, but the problem is that to get those animals at that right age of slaughter, the amount of feed that goes in, the amount of grain that goes in, it is immense. I know in the US, I believe, I think 60% grain uses cattle feed to feed the appetite for meat. That wasn't the case 150 years ago. It's come out now, and that is causing a lot of damage. I know in Brazil, a huge amount of forests are being cleared just to fund the meat or the fast food industry. And that, I think, is not only is actually bad for environment, it's bad for our health as well. So there's multiple things I think we need to look at here. But that again, I think that'd be a huge challenge because the meat industry is very strong and they would not like to reduce their income. So it's a big issue, but I think people are generally moving right direction, especially the youth. They are becoming more aware of these ideas and they're moving towards a diet which is less damaging to the environment. And I think eventually that will happen. It will happen, no doubt, as people become more aware of this. Yeah.
Fabulous. So we've come to almost 30 minutes into the broadcast for today, and we've had a nice rounded discussion around the topic of how Hinduism has a take on ecological issues. Now, wherever you're around the world, you may be in a developed country, you may be in a developing country, circumstances may be different, but one thing that you can do, each and every one of us around the world, is follow the 3 R's of what we call reduce, reuse, and recycle. So try and think, can you reduce the amount of things that you need? Can you reuse some of the things that you already have? Or could somebody else make use of it? Don't just throw it away. And can you recycle? And can the materials be made into something new? So these are the 3 R's of being environmentally conscious that anybody can basically take advantage of anywhere around the world, no matter what the circumstances are. So what I'd like to do is, for the moment, is I'd like to just point out everybody to some of our resources. So if you're already on youtube.com, please do take a moment to subscribe to our channel. We are just a few thousand people away from getting to 100,000 viewers on our channel, which is a milestone that we are aiming for very shortly. The other thing you can do is go over to our website, which is hindu-academy.com, and you will be able to find a number of resources that are going to give you ebooks. It'll give you access to our e-learning course and many other things as well. And finally, I was going to talk about the e-learning course, where we have almost 7,500 plus students already enrolled in it. And it will take you through the basics of Hinduism. At the end of it, there is a 100 question questionnaire that'll test you on your knowledge of Hinduism. For those of you who are taking the GCSE Hinduism examinations, I would also encourage you to get in touch with us. We do have an online course for the GCSE students, but we also have live classes every Sunday, which are courtesy of Vijay Bhai and his team. And as far as I remember, the students who've been on these courses with us live have done very, very well, including one student, I think a couple of years back, who was having the highest points in the world. So if you're a GCSE Hinduism student, please do reach out to us, and we will give you access to the Zoom calls on Sundays. Manish Bhai, back to you, and I will share some questions shortly again.
Thank you, Nisit Bhai. Vijay Bhai, could you please add something more about this GCSE course starting from next Saturday, 10 o'clock?
Yeah, so it's actually next Sunday at 10 o'clock, 10 to 11. We run GCSE Hinduism course, and it's open to students worldwide. So what we have is, we have, at least in the UK, we have 8-9 different centers in the UK. They all join the Zoom classes, and we have 3 to 4 teachers who specialize in various topics, and we teach the subjects, and we prepare the students very thoroughly. We have about at least 6 to 7 mock tests if the exams comes. So you're very well prepared, and we also kind of every week give some sort of basic things you can go and research yourself, so you're up to speed on the course. So the way that we have all the notes, we have all the aids, tools we need to do the class. So yes, please, you're more than welcome to join the class. It's the course we run is set by the Cambridge University. It's a Cambridge International GCSE course for O levels. So yeah, so the target students we aim for is between 13 and 15 years old. But if you're younger and older, you're most welcome to join as well. Yeah.
Wonderful. And who should they contact to register for this course?
I think if they send the email, email towards Hindu Academy, then we can send the details for the Zoom, because you could register for the Zoom link as well. So send details to Hindu Academy, and then we can pass on the Zoom details. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you, Vijay Bhai. We got one question regarding, what we said about fireworks not being in Ram's time last week. And some of the comments have been that fireworks are part of our culture, And one of the viewer now has said about firecracker in Diwali, there is a mention about it in some ancient literature as Ulka Pradarsanan. Same thing has been highlighted by J. Sai Deepak. Your take on that? What do you make of this, Vijay bhai?
Okay, so I've heard that. I've seen that Jai Sai Deepak's video as well. The thing is, I know that in ancient times, yes, the idea was also to light up the heavens, because the idea was that your ancestors come and visit you as well on Diva, and then you light up the sky of heavens. I'm not sure of fireworks, but I know that people do put diyas in trees or in higher places to light up the sky as such, or in the high, poles or whatever. That I have seen. I mean, regarding fireworks, I think the earliest fireworks were actually developed by China, from what I know. But look, I think the issue is much bigger here, because I think the idea that why fireworks is very India is because of pollution. But we know that in India, things like stubble burning, the car pollution, industry pollution is far, far worse. That is really kind of got people kind of up in arms that you're picking on fireworks, because it's primarily aimed at Diwali, as to kind of negate the Hindu kind of tradition. And I know that's an intellectual battle going on. But look, all I would say is that while that may be true, I'm not going to judge that. But we know ourselves that the less smoke there is, better for our health and for children. So we should try and moderate this, go to green fireworks. I'm not saying ban fireworks, because we are very clever as human beings. India has got huge, field of engineers and scientists. Come up with new ways of doing fireworks, new ways of celebrating. There are less smoke and still equally as fun and still light the sky, I guess. So I'm not for banning fireworks totally. I'm just for, as an individual, as a human being, let's take our responsibility and reduce the amount of pollution and smoke caused by fireworks. Because I have seen in some places in India, like Irmaon village, the amount of stuff, all the the remaining fireworks stuff all over the road, and nobody goes to clean up. So I think that's something we're going to work on. But again, there are many ways to light the sky. But I agree that banning just fireworks, just total ban is going to be a problem, and we should really go for that. But let's find better ways to have fireworks at the same time in a sustainable manner. And that's what I think Hindus should, or any engineers, scientists should try and produce. Then we are all kind of working towards a good goal. Yes. Sita Ben.
Yeah, I mean, there's not that much more I can add. I mean, that's what I was going to suggest as well. I mean, trying to find more sort of environmentally friendly ways of doing fireworks is very important, because a lot of people are arguing that, oh, that's such a central part of celebrating festivals like Diwali and all of that, that, we'd still want to keep that tradition up. But then, yes, okay, but we need to sort of evolve with the times and try and find more environmentally friendly ways of doing that. And we're very clever, as Vijay Bhai said, we will find a way.
Wonderful answer, Sita Ben, Vijay Bhai. We got one question from Rohan Bargare. He's saying, do people of India worship Lord Shiva before Vedas was written? Vijay Bhai?
Personally, I think yes. I know people might get shocked with that, but the Indus Valley civilization evidence we have, actually, even before Lord Shiva was the mother goddess. That's a fact, yes. Because the amount of evidence we have in Indus Valley, just I'm now talking about 3600 BC, when it was at the peak of civilization. There's a huge amount of evidence that we find female figurines being used for worship. And yes, there's also evidence of Pashupatinath, the Lord Shiva in meditation. So it could be. I'm not going to judge that, but even the Vedas have been passed orally for such a long time. The thing to remember in India is a pluralistic tradition, and quite often we see somehow we always get dragged to the Western view of like one monotheist lens. And India was never like that. It was okay for people in the forest tribes for thousands of years to worship the trees or to worship Shabri. I know this was Shabri. And it's okay if you're from a great civilization, from urban area, to worship Shiva or Mother Goddess. So all these kind of beliefs, they're all in parallel, happening at the same time. And because India had no idea of kind of pushing somebody out, if you're not, but there was no idea of having one God. Like in the West, everybody was pushed out and kind of destroyed. India has never been like that. So There have been very many beliefs kind of evolving and changing in parallel. So Vedas is quite old as well. But I think that's only my view. You can take it or leave it, that the Indus Valley civilization shows us much better proof that the earliest belief was the feminine idea of mother goddess, and Lord Shiva just around that time as well, but just maybe after. That's my view on that. Yes, Sita Ben.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know for sure, but we do know that, you know, Hinduism did start off, you know, in terms of the Vedas and Upanishads. It talks of a non-theistic philosophy, essentially. So we don't know which came first. It's very difficult to know. But the wonderful thing about Hinduism is, you know, as Vijay Bhai said, it's extremely pluralistic. You can think of God with form, God without form. And the wonderful thing is that, you know, even if you sort of decide that personalities like Ram and Krishna were not historical figures, Hinduism will not sort of crumble as a result. The principles are the things that stand the test of time. And it's because of that that Hinduism has survived for so many thousands of years. We've survived so many sort of difficult periods, and we're still going strong. So there's a lot that we can sort of learn from Hinduism in terms of not being fixated on any kind of personality, but essentially it's the principle which stands the test of time, and it's essentially Sanatan, eternal and universal.
Wonderful answer, Sitaben. We got a question from Jay. He's saying, is there organization that's specializing on teaching Patanjali Yoga, just as Ramakrishna Order specialize in teaching Advaita Vedanta? And do you recommend any, Sitaben?
It's not an area that I'm particularly aware of. I know that there's this Swami Ramdev who does this Patanjali Yoga sort of classes, but I personally, I'm being honest, I don't know too much about it, but you're welcome to have a look into it. And one thing that I would sort of suggest and recommend is Swami Vivekananda's modern interpretation of Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. He actually went through all of the aphorisms, which is amazing, and actually went into meditation and experienced them. And then he sort of got the lady to sort of write his experiences down. So you've got a modern interpretation of the Patanjali Yoga Sutra. So what more can we do from somebody who's actually experienced it? That's very, very rare to find. Vijay Bhai?
Yeah, I see that. I'm not sure either, but I know that there's a lot of yoga centers who have got Patanjali Peeth, Patanjali Yoga, this. There are quite a few Patanjali's word is being used so liberally by so many organizations. It's difficult to find who's actually the genuine Patanjali yoga practitioner. But I think, as Sita Ben, that's my favorite commentary on the Yoga Sutra by Vivekananda. And the key thing is, you should remember that Patanjali Yoga Sutra is about self-realization. It's not the same as Hatha Yoga. Hatha Yoga helps, it's an aid, but it's not the same. So all these bendy exercises we do, there is no Patanjali Yoga. So I think we need to keep that in mind. But as I said, I know in the UK, there's Shivananda, Patanjali Yoga, there's quite a few around, and they all use Patanjali Yoga, Patanjali Yoga. But I mean, to be honest, I have not done any research on who is the genuine one. But I suggest that you have a look, but be careful that but also read a first of Patanjali, so you actually have a good grounding. Then you can choose what is really kind of is closest to your understanding of Patanjali Yoga Sutra. Yeah.
Just want to add something to that the Ramakrishna Mission doesn't just only talk about Advaita Vedanta. They do talk about Raj Yoga, and even Swami Swarupayananda has done 2 fantastic lectures on Raj Yoga himself. So it's not like they're just talking about Advaita Vedanta and won't teach anything else. They do focus on all spiritual matters. So you could go to them as well for guidance on Patanjali Yoga Sutra and Raj Yoga, basically. And that's a fantastic place to go as well. There they do have some very knowledgeable swamis there. We take a next question. Before that, we would like to announce that Sita Ben has been appointed as a Hindu tutor at Eton College, and it's a fantastic news. She's been, recognized as the authority on Hinduism there. And Sita Ben, what are your feelings about it?
I honestly just feel extremely lucky to have got that position, and it's with the support of the whole Hindu Academy team that it was possible. And otherwise we're all working together towards the same goal to sort of spread the message of spirituality, and we just try and carry on Dad's work to the best of our ability. And we're just very lucky that everyone at Eton is very kind, very welcoming, and we're all just working together towards the same goal to let everyone know about the spiritual beauty of the world. So we kind of continue doing that in the best way that we can.
Could you please tell us more about this Eton College? How important is Eton College?
So it's quite a big sort of establishment. It's been around for hundreds of years, and I was lucky enough to be sort of shown around by the head of divinity, all the different sort of rooms and sections, and they've been around for hundreds of years. So it's a massive institution. And the wonderful thing is they've sort of evolved with the times. They're not just sort of focusing on Christianity, they're recognizing that their students come from all around the world. And, it's very important to recognize faiths, not just Christianity, but Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, Islam. So they actually run sort of chapels, essentially, for all of these different faiths every Sunday. So we're very lucky that we've got a position there sort of with the Hindu class, and we sort of discuss topics. For example, tomorrow I've got a session on Diwali. So we're going to talk about the story of Ramayana and the significance of Ram. And the boys have been very sort of welcoming. They ask lots of interesting questions, and it's a very good dialogue that we have.
Yeah, it's wonderful to see you carrying on in Jai Bhai's footsteps and teaching at Eton College, and we wish you all the best with your efforts in that, Sithavin.
Thank you.
We take the next question. Some of the viewers have been talking about this environmental things. So Aniruddha has said nowadays many youngsters want to start, the sustainable product startup, but the problem they face is plastic products are much more cheaper, and that plastic, recycling is a big issue there, and it's causing problems with oceans, as Sithabin has mentioned, and. Yes, so Christine Perillo said plastic is a major issue that really should be discussed more. What can we do about plastic, Vijay?
So it's a big issue. I mean, I've been in my house, I have now changed my bottle from plastics to steel bottles, yeah, which we can kind of carry around. But the thing is, again, it's the advertisement, the drive. There's so much drive to people don't really use plastic so subconsciously. You get a product from Amazon, it's wrapped in plastic. Yes, you go buy a fridge, it's wrapped in plastic. They go single-use plastic nevertheless. But we've been so trained mentally to use a throwaway bottle because it's so convenient for us that we tend to forget that then we just it's part of our subliminal thought. It's just there. So we need to change our mindset. I mean, I know my sister runs a center called Silver Bamboo, where all products are eco-friendly. She's got things made out of bamboo shoots, all kinds of stuff. But yes, the biggest problem they have is that plastics are much cheaper, and they got the powerful industrial force behind them to promote the plastic. Because it's a huge challenge. Even our toys are majority are plastic. I don't know what kind of dyes they use. So I think the government party needs to put up the ante here and put some taxes or whatever on plastic, so they have a kind of an even level playing battlefield. That's a big problem. I mean, as we know in the oceans that there's millions of tons of plastic floating in a couple of parts of the sea where the kind of currents come together, and they're like huge, not mountain at the top, at the bottom there's a huge, kind of inverse mountain of plastics. It's really sad. So I think the youth, I think they need some help. They should help them out to do other products, because I know that a lot of people doing sustainable products, and I have bought some for myself. But again, for many people, it's going to be a question of course. It's much easier to buy a 8p bottle of water, drink it and throw it away, than to buy a steel bottle, which is better. But then you have to carry it with you, so you can remember to fill the water when you go in the car. So all these issues come into play. So I think two things here. One is to give them a level playing field, And second, to change the mindset of people that actually you can do equally well with a bottle filled at home in your tap. And that's the main thing. So you got to challenge all this, Evian and all these waters, which are kind of promoting themselves as water from the mountains. They've been filtered for hundreds of years, so the mountains coming in stream. So the selling power is so big that you wonder that is it really worth that much to drink that from a tap water? But this is the kind of mental psychology that's being played on us all the time. So a big challenge. I don't know, but hopefully the youth will change their mindset and move towards less plastic. Sita,
Yeah, I actually, because I'm right in the middle of moving house at the moment, and the amount of plastic wrapping that all of our sort of bedding and all of that came in, it filled the whole corridor. And we spent the whole evening just wrapping up plastic to throw it away. And it's such a waste, it's complete waste, because you just open it and throw it. So there really, as Vijay said, there really needs to be this sort of shift change, try and make plastic sort of difficult to use in the way that, for example, buying cigarettes, they make it very sort of expensive and they have pictures of really ill people on the cigarette packets. Like, we need to do something like that, maybe have pictures of poor animals suffering in the oceans on top of the plastic, just to let people know that there is a real issue here. And plastic is one of probably the worst inventions of humanity in that sense. I mean, it's very convenient for us, but it's the amount of damage, the amount of life that it has killed in the oceans is just unbearable. So something desperately needs to be done.
Yes, agree. Plastic is something, as people being aware, there is a reduction in plastic, use of plastic bags and stuff, and hopefully we can all learn and move on from plastic. We take next question from Qatar Hindu Godzilla. He's saying, if dinosaurs lived 156 million years ago, so according to Hinduism, they lived 36 Mahayugas ago. Are they mentioned in any scriptures? Vijay?
Okay, I don't know if they mentioned in any scriptures, but all I can say is that Hindus are very comfortable with big numbers. I think maybe I mentioned this last week, but I'm watching this video by Brian Cox on Age of the Earth, and he says that the age of Earth could run up to 4 trillion years. And ironically, they say that Brahma's one day is thousands of years, and 100 years of Brahma, which is how long the years last, is 411 trillion years. And then the world kind of comes. So there's a lot of interesting kind of coincidences. But I think the main thing is that Hindus have no problem with big numbers, and we accept that we are not the first creatures on this earth. We have no problem with that as Hindus. Life has evolved through millennia, through millions of years, and it keeps evolving. And as the spirit kind of manifests itself, as Jay used to say, the spirit is trying to manifest the very most primitive, archaic bacteria which kind of started the world, became at the very start of life, to this, to what we are, the clear essence of divine. The spirit has always been trying to manifest and come out and shine through. And that's what this whole entire kind of time span we have, is that's what's happening. And dinosaurs are the same. Dinosaurs are divine creatures as well, according to Hinduism. So they could be living for many Mahayugas, no problem. We don't have a problem with that. But we have now come to our stage. So yes, we agree with all that. How we measure the Mahayugas or years, Hindus have no problem with that. We love big numbers. So there we are. Sita Ben.
Yeah, I mean, this thing with the yugas, it's very easy to sort of get caught up in it. But I think, well, from my perspective at least, I think it's best to sort of go with what science has sort of told us. And some of these yugas, sometimes they come from the mythological texts. So we have to sort of make sure we don't treat them as literal. And what we know is true from so far so good anyway, because science is always so far so good, is I think probably the scientific timescale that we are currently working with is probably much more accurate in that sense. So we just have to be careful that, we like to get carried away that Hinduism is millions of yugas old and all of that, because we love our religion and our tradition. But we have to also keep a rational hat on as well and sort of look at what science is showing us and sort of just be humble about it. This is the best that we've got at the moment, and this is what we can work with.
Wonderful. So, folks, can you just believe it's been 55 minutes already into the broadcast? And I know we had some sort of bandwidth issues today. And, it's one of those things about going online. But what a healthy and robust discussion we've had around the Hinduism take on ecological issues. And from the feedback that I'm seeing online, it seems we've touched on a topic that is quite important to the viewers out there. And so maybe we will revisit again in a couple of weeks' time, just to see, if we can recap and check all the things that we've missed out and bring it back again. And so we will definitely do that. For those of you who are new to the broadcast today, once again, I would request you to jump onto our channel. It's youtube.com/Hindu Academy. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do give it a subscribe. I had a couple of interesting figures from the YouTube channel this year. So far we've had about 2.5 million views. 1.5 million of those are from India. And so we know the demographic, we know the thirst for knowledge, and it's an amazing platform where anybody can come and ask any questions that's burning in their brain. For example, about the dinosaur thing, right? It's a question that has been bugging somebody, so they asked, and we want you all to be comfortable to be asking the questions about Hinduism here. So without further delay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this session to an end. But before I do that, I will share the quote of the day, which is that we've got a brand new year ahead, a Hindu New Year ahead of us. A timely reminder for this quote: arise, awake, and stop not until the goal is reached. We want to wish you all a fantastic year ahead, and may you be able to have a healthy, happy, prosperous, and successful new year ahead of you. I'll just bring my team back on. Folks, we've got Manish Bhai, who kindly handles the broadcast while I'm doing the back end stuff. Manish Bhai, thank you so much. You've done incredibly well over the past year, managing all the questions and handling the sort of screen time. Sita Ben and Vijay Bhai, we cannot thank you enough for helping answer all the questions as best as you can. Like I said, we are not model answers always, but we are honest enough to say that, if we don't know the answer, we can go and find out for you. We won't fudge the answer though for you. and Vijay Bhai, again, once again, thank you so much for running the Hinduism GCSE classes. That is an extra level of commitment that you've taken time out from your busy lifestyle to make sure that the students of today will be the successful leaders of Hinduism in the future tomorrow. So with that, I'd like to say thank you, everybody. We will see you next week. And Shubh Deepavali and Nutan Varashna Abhinandan again. Bye-bye for now.